everyone. Welcome to Classic Cinema with the Sage Sisters. This is episode 13, and we're talking about Lost Horizon today from 1937. And it's directed by Frank Capra, which, I mean, it's sort of in his vein, but you're right,
Yeah,
Celeste. We were talking before we started
yeah, it's
recording.
not as typical.
It's not a typical movie at all.
No.
And I've read the book. The book is also not typical. And the guy who wrote that book also wrote Random Harvest. And I've read them both. I've read both of
Yes.
his books. So, so Ronald Coleman, Jane Wyatt, directed by Frank Capra. There are a couple, two or three really well-known character actors in it. But let me read the description. I'm going to read the second description in Internet Movie Database because I think it's a little more um, descriptive. British diplomat Robert Conway and a small group of civilians crash land in the Himalayas and are rescued by the people of the mysterious Eden-like Valley of Shangri-La. Protected by the mountains from the world outside, where the clouds of World War II are gathering, Shangri-La provides a seductive escape for the world-weary Conway. Some of the people who are on that plane with him when they get kidnapped and taken to Shangri-La don't want to be there. Specifically, his brother.
Specifically his brother. His brother, you get from the get-go, because the movie starts off with they're needing to try to save uh is it Chinese?
Well, yeah, it's something's going on in China, and
Where
they're
they're gonna
trying to
be
evacuate all the
right,
people who work at the embassies and stuff.
right.
Yeah, there's another quote that I want to read about that, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so they're trying to rescue all these people that work at the embassies because, people they're just being randomly killed
Right.
and attacked. And keep in mind this book was written post World War One. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it was written during World War One, I
Yeah,
think,
he
but
wrote he
they're
wrote it for. I think he was hoping for a Shangri-La type of life
after World War One.
after World War One.
Yeah,
I mean, it's understandable. We were in a
yeah,
war.
yeah.
Anyway, so it's quite chaotic and loud and trying to make sure they get all the proper people. And it's not a very big plane. And
No, but
as
they have
as
several.
people were escaping and getting on planes, they were, being shot down, and there was all sorts of mess going on. So it's quite a
Chaos.
miracle when they do get on their plane that they're even able to make it. But in the meantime, as you see them getting on their plane, that the pilot is attacked and another pilot puts himself in the place, and they don't know that. The passengers do not realize that has happened until a certain
Right.
point.
Until it's way longer. The flight
Oh
is
yeah.
way longer than it's
They
supposed to
realize they're
be.
going in the wrong direction.
Right. Yeah.
One of the passengers realizes Bernard, I think his name is, or something like that. Another great character actor, Thomas Mitchell, was like, he was looking around, he's like, something's not right. And
Yeah.
then, uh, he and another passenger who I love, Edward Everett Horton, who I love. And it says, when you read the trivia about Edward Everett Horton, they're like, he's probably in every single comedic movie ever because he's such a great
Yes.
character actor. And he
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
Doesn't play quite as funny as he normally does in this. In this film is not near as funny. But anyway, they both agree. Oh yeah, something's not right. And so that's when they discover Ronald Coleman's character, Robert,
Yeah.
and he is a diplomat. Isn't he like some sort of congressman or something like that? So
Well,
he,
no,
he's
he's a
pretty important.
diplomat, so he works for the government. He's
Yeah,
not like a PM or anything like that.
right. But he's still pretty important.
Yeah,
Um, and has written a book. His character has written a book and is very
more
well
th
known.
more
I
than
think he's
one.
written several even thought pieces in newspapers and things like
Right.
that. So anyway, and he's with his brother. Uh, Edward Everett Horton plays um, um, a
Paleo
scientist who
paleontologist.
is a paleontologist. So they all have their different roles.
And we
Um,
find out later that what's his name, Mitchell, Thomas Mitchell,
yeah,
is he's an American, and something happened when the stock market crashed,
right.
and he was accused of stealing money and stuff, but he explains later that he he didn't steal their money.
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of like he almost got set up a little bit or something. But it was
Yeah,
a chaotic time when the
right,
stock market crashed. So I think there were a lot of accusatory things that happened to people at that time
right,
because they were looking for someone to blame.
right.
So he kind of was running away, but not really.
Yeah,
Anyway, so yeah, they and then there's a woman who's on there, and you can tell from the get-go she is not well.
right.
She's coughing, like she's got like an emphysema or something's going on. So they find out the pilot is not who they thought it was, and he has taken them some different direction. And I love Ronald Coleman's character, Robert Conway, because he's so calm.
Right.
Nothing really jostles him or gets him upset, or he's just like, well, we don't really have a choice. None of us know how to fly. We can't make the pilot go away because our other pilot has died. So we have to just go wherever he's taking us. And of course, the passengers, mostly his brother, um, George, is pretty upset.
Yeah,
What do you mean we're not going to do anything? You can tell
right.
he's a very highly agitative type of person from the beginning.
Hmm.
And the man who plays his brother is John Howard, who some years later, in a movie that we already talked about, the Philadelphia Story, he plays the man she's supposed to marry, and then eventually does not. Katharine Hepburn's character does not. So, but this is where he's much younger. But yeah, I mean, and so they land someplace. They're not sure exactly what's going to happen, but it appears to kind of be in the middle of nowhere. And at first, you're like, are they going to be attacked? What's going on? And you find out they're just being refueled. And it was obviously a planned refueling.
Yeah,
They all knew somehow that they were going to have to stop and get this fuel.
right.
And so, okay, we've been refueled. That's kind of weird. And then take off again and they start to get really cold and they realize, they're heading into the mountains.
Yeah, the
And
Himalayas.
that's when, you know, they're still trying to come up with some sort of plan. Well, things go wrong and the pilot passes out. They realize they're starting to, and they're like, what the heck is going on here? Well, the pilot either there was gas fumes or something had happened in the cockpit and he died from the gas fumes. So
Or
they,
something.
I mean, or something, yeah. So they realize they're going to crash, and they're doing the best they can to brace themselves. And then, of course, they're like, "Well, what are we going to do now? We're
In the
freezing
middle of
cold. We
nowhere.
don't have the proper equipment. What are we going to do?"
Right,
And they get rescued
right.
by these people who are, give them clothes to wear, and they said, "Hey, we'll take you." And they're kind of like, where are you going to take us? What's up here? They can't quite. And of course, once again, Robert Conway is the voice of reason. Well, we don't really have a choice. And do we want to be saved? Or do we want to sit out?
And
We're
freeze
going to
to
freeze
death.
to death if we
Yeah.
don't go anywhere. So he's the voice of reason. And of course, they go and they find out rather quickly once I mean, and that they said it's going to be a treacherous hike. It's not, so they all tie each other. It's like when kids were in preschool and they all hang on to the rope
Yeah,
together and
right.
make sure they don't get lost from each other, which I thought was pretty clever. And then of course they eventually end up in this location that they find out is Shangri-La. So
And
That part
it's
I think
this,
is really interesting because you see right away when they all get on the plane and then when they find out that it's not their pilot, you know, they have to figure out how to trust each other right away.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And and
Yeah,
really they just really start to figure out to trust Robert
right.
because I think they really start to appreciate not his brother, how calm he is. And
Yeah,
he's
right,
very, very rational.
right.
He's just calm. He's just like, well, and I think what I appreciate the thing that kept coming to my mind about Robert is he trusts the process,
He
which is one of
does.
my favorite things to say. Just trust the process. He
Right,
absolutely trusts the process of this
right.
whole journey of what's happening. And then as we learn later on, that is his philosophy.
Yeah,
That's what he
yeah.
essentially has
Because,
written about and
yeah, because what we find out, first off, when they get to Shangri-La, it's warm.
oh yeah, everything
It's
suddenly
it's
changes.
all
Right.
protected by all these mountains, and it's in this like little weather bubble kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yeah. And
And
yeah, really warm, like you kind of get the feeling it's like a almost tropical.
yeah, it's so anyway, yeah, and so it's like they're all shocked
Yeah.
and somebody greets them and they think he's like the person who's like sort of in charge there, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
find out later that he's not. But one of the things that I wanted to say before we get into when they're in Shangri-La is Robert and George have this conversation in the book.
Yes.
Robert's assistant is not his brother, it's somebody else.
Yeah, in the
So,
book.
but
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
so his brother George is his assistant. And Robert says, "Did you make that report out yet?" And George says, "Yes, Bob." "Did you say we saved 90 white people?" "Yes." "Good. Hooray for us. Ha ha. Did you say that we left 10,000 natives down there to be
Yep.
annihilated?" "No, no, you wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't say that,
They
would you?
don't
Yeah.
count." He's being
Right.
sarcastic.
Of course he's being sarcastic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because so
And you can really see how his brother uh really doesn't care.
right. But that shows Robert's point of view about all of
All
humanity,
of
not
humanity.
just white people.
That is a really profound moment between the two brothers because you see how completely opposite they are right away,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right
Mm-hmm.
away. And then at first you kind of think even some of the other characters, the paleontologist, his name is Lovett, that's all they call him. Um, and the gentleman, oh, what's his name? Bernard. You think they're opposite at first.
Right.
Because Bernard ends up calling Lovett a couple different names, and then eventually he comes up with Lovey. And at first, Lovett's not really happy about it. It's like, don't call me that, don't call me that, because he seems so, he even shows him a vertebra that was found, and he was really excited about it. And, Bernard is kind of teasing him about it. Looks like a bowl. It's kind of funny.
Right.
But, and then but you see also too how all four men want to care for the woman,
Yeah.
which I thought was an interesting, really way to show how they somewhat come together
Yeah.
to care for
Because
her because she's not well.
no, and she seems so world weary.
Yes. Oh, she
World
does. She's
weary.
wearing a lot of makeup and her hair's done up and she's got certain clothes on and they really make a point to show how she's dressed and her makeup and her hair.
Yeah.
And
But she's dressed like that because she's dying and she's
well,
fighting dying.
she's just fighting dying and because the doctors have told her you don't have much time to live. So she
Right.
was hoping she could live
Which
as much as she could before she died.
right, which we don't know about really until sometime after they're in Shangri-La and she starts healing.
It's really interesting too. And the other thing that I think is important to point out about this movie is there's they had to cut a lot out when the movie first was
Yes.
being put out there because the
I think it was
studios thought it was too long.
I think it was 3 hours.
It was a long movie. So there
Yeah,
was a
excuse me.
lot of footage when they started to, because keep in mind it was done in the 30s, so it needed to be restored. And when they
Right.
started to restore it, a lot of the footage could not be um,
Found.
found or restored because it had disintegrated. And but dialogue,
They found
they
the voice
they
tracks.
found voices. So they in the movie there's two or three times there's 6 minutes that they couldn't get footage to attach
Right.
back into it from what they could preserve. So they were able to preserve 2 hours and 12 minutes of the film, which I
Right.
think is amazing.
Yeah.
And so there's just still pictures they put up, but you can hear the dialogue.
Right.
And actually, I remember not knowing much about the movie, gosh, when I first started watching TCM and they had aired it. I was like, what are they doing?
Well, they did that
And then,
with
of course, they explain it. Hey,
yeah.
they had to have this
Yeah.
because of the restoration process. And I was like, oh, but
They do the same thing with A Star is Born with Judy Garland
yep,
because some of the footage was lost or damaged.
or
Yeah.
damage. Right.
Yeah.
They have to do the same thing with the Starborn with Julie Garland.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there were other films I'm sure they've had to do this with
Oh yeah.
because the
Yeah.
film back then, if you didn't preserve it right or do certain things, it would disintegrate,
Right.
turn to dust. So,
Yeah, there was some movie Barry and I were watching. It might have been we watched Indiscreet last night, and it might have been that movie where the film stock was changed to something else. Something we were watching. I can't remember what it was. The film stock was changed so that it doesn't disintegrate now.
yeah, we'll have to talk about Indiscreet sometime too.
Yes, we will.
It's one of my favorite Cary Grant. I just love that movie so much. But
Anyway,
anyway, so I guess I've gotten so used to seeing this movie that way and A Star is Born and some other ones.
uh-huh.
I don't find it disturbing.
Right.
It's okay, you know what's going on, so big deal.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take away from the story itself and moving it forward.
Right. Because
And
what they cut out was a little bit vital. And so when they put that back,
right.
we get to hear the vital information
It
that we
is vital
needed.
information. It really is. The
Yeah.
conversations that, like, you know, one of the scenes that they show is how the young woman is still not feeling well. It's still at the beginning when they first get
Yeah.
to Shangri-La.
I forgot what her character name is.
Um, it is Gloria.
Oh yeah,
I
Gloria.
almost said something else, but I knew it was Gloria. And she's the picture that they show is she's just laying in bed like, oh,
Right.
she's just and I'm sure she's just like, well, I guess this is where I'm gonna die.
Yes.
And they do try to like bring her some broth. The man who they think is in charge of Shangri-La wants
Hmm.
to bring her some food because they have prepared food for everyone else. But she's just like, nope, I don't want anything because she thinks she's going to die.
Right.
So, they help him change their clothes, they give him new things to wear, and then they have this very opulent meal. And
Right.
everyone's just like, where did you get all this food? And they're
Yeah.
just like, where how are we sitting? And of course they're amazed by the landscape, the buildings. I mean,
Because
they
it's
just can't.
like a palace.
It's like a palace,
Right.
and it's like paradise.
Right.
I mean, they just can't. I think they're all just kind of like, how are we here? And then, of course, his brother, we've been kidnapped. We've been kidnapped. We've been kidnapped. I mean,
Yeah.
he can't settle at all. And he's very agitated the whole movie.
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, and then it's really great because at one point, and I'll let you tell the part of it, where Bob or Robert meets with the man who they think is in charge, and he proceeds
Right.
to tell them the story of Shangri-La.
Right. Yeah. Now, one thing that I want to do before we go, because it takes us a little while to get to the High Lama, is who he goes and
The High
talks to,
Lama. Yep.
played by Sam Jaffe. And but Robert notices down in the even the farther valley
Oh yeah.
that there's a village there,
Yeah.
and there are farms and goats and sheep, and I
Cows and
I don't know if there's
chickens and
yeah, there's
I mean
all this.
there's active farm living.
Right.
Right.
Agricultural. Yeah,
Yep.
and Sandra, who Jane Wyatt plays Sandra, she's not a character in the book, but she tells him that oh yeah, I teach school down there. And so actually he follows her and finds her teaching school. And oh, that's also when she's swimming in the lake, I think it is, or a
Yeah, she
pond.
goes swimming
And
naked.
that's the nude naked, that's the nude swimming scene. Although it's, pretty far away and,
Well, and they had to, they had to, because there was a body double for her. I read the trivia on that. And
hmm
they had to promise the code system that they would put a,
bodysuit.
a flesh-colored bodysuit on. But from what I think the trivia said, they didn't do that. They just did a far shot.
Yeah. She had it on, but then they asked her, the director, Frank Capra, asked her to take it off. So she went, okay. Uh,
Yeah,
there are
she didn't care.
all these guys standing around. She's like, oh, well, okay, I'll do it, I guess. uh, but yeah, it was a far shot. So you can't really see anything.
No,
But
no.
yeah, so she's teaching school and he has a conversation with, I forgot the name of the guy that is like the person who greets them. I'm looking, I have a quote here that I want to save, so on my phone. Look him up. Who's that? What's his character name?
H.B. Warner. And he
H.B.
plays a
Warner.
character named Chang.
Oh, that's right. Chang. Yes. Yes. Okay, so um yeah, so Chang had and Robert have this conversation about, well, because Robert says, "Are they your servants?" He says, "Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, not really. I mean, they help us. They grow the things
Yeah.
for us, and
We all
you
kind
know,
of like work together.
yeah, but we do things for them, and they do things for us, and
Right.
yeah. So it's this really interesting way that they operate in that whole valley that is
Well, yeah, and the
beautiful
way
and
Chang says things to him, you get the impression that it's this just this coexisting
hmm
and no one is in service above someone else or whatever.
everyone's
They all just do it together. But
yeah,
they have
everyone's
their
in service.
certain roles, you
Yeah,
know.
everybody's in service to everybody else is
Right.
sort of how it
It's
is.
not like slaves or like,
Right.
like he said, do they work for you? And he's like, well, wait, the way he describes it is it's a team effort. You
Yeah,
know, we're
right.
all here
Yes.
together. We do this together.
Right.
And we
So
all
the
have our
whole
roles.
so the whole time uh he has a couple of conversations with Sandra, and she indicates that she has read his books, Robert's books. And
Right.
now this is the kind of mysterious thing about Shangri-La,
Right.
because Chang describes how they get their supplies, some of their supplies, and it's by, caravan. And oh, the caravans come every couple of years, and
Yeah.
but she's read all of his books. Now how did she get his
And
books?
he's like,
It's
and you can see him like, what?
yeah, how did she
How
get
do you get my books all the way here?
yeah, I mean, it's kind of mysterious
Yes. Yes.
how all of that happens. So but finally, oh, one thing we have to mention is George meets this woman named Maria. In the
Yep.
book, I can't remember, she's an Asian woman in the book. I can't remember what her name is.
She's
But
Russian in this one, in the movie.
yeah, her name
I
is
don't know why they
Maria.
make her Russian, but
I don't either. I don't know why they changed that. But so he hears her playing the piano. Oh, wait,
yeah,
maybe it's Sandra's playing the piano. Anyway, he meets her. Uh, George, oh no, she's weaving when
she's
George
leaving.
first
Yeah.
meets her,
Yeah.
Maria. And I think over time, we don't know how long they're there. It's a few months. probably maybe six
Oh,
months or
yeah, I'm gathering because they seem like they've, really gotten used to being there, and they understand the
uh-huh,
times of the meals and when to get up, and
right.
and they kind of find their own way in the community,
To do things in the community
except for
right.
George.
Yeah, George is so he's so discontent. But he and Maria have finally have made a relationship. And when George finally, it's like it's come to the surface and he's a volcano and he's exploding all over Robert. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. It's after uh Robert has talked to the High Lama. And one now the High Lama, this is the reason I wanted to talk about this because he had this long speech, which I'm not going to read the whole
Long.
thing. But he talks about how the greed of some humans and the power struggles and how it's made everyone so unhappy, but he says, what blindness, what unintelligent leadership. A scurrying mass of bewildered humanity crashing headlong against each other, propelled by an orgy of greed and brutality. A time must come, my friend, when this orgy will spend itself, when brutality and the lust for power must perish by its own sword. Against that time is why I avoid death, which we'll talk about the High Lama in a minute, um, and am here, and why you were brought here. For when that day comes, the world must begin to look for a new life. And it's our hope that they may find it here. For here we shall be with their books and their music and a way of life based on one simple rule: be kind.
Mind. Yeah.
And there's more because he quotes from his book.
Well,
But
because I mean, it is explained to Robert that the Dalai Lama is the one who created Shangri-La.
yeah,
And
he
of
is
course, the
father.
strong impression is, well, it's because he was looking for a world that was kindness.
Yeah, his name is Father Peralt, I think.
In your countries, on the other hand, how often do you hear the expression, he worried himself to death, or this thing or that killed him?
Oh, very often.
And very true. Your lives are therefore, as a rule, shorter, not so much by natural death as by indirect suicide.
Chang
Yeah,
explains about Father Peralt and how Shangri-La got started, and
yeah.
he's been there for 200 and something years.
Oh, yeah. Which, even Robert's like, what?
Yeah,
How is that a thing?
yeah,
Well, of course, what I love about Robert's character as he's talking with Chang and he's observing the community and Shangri-La, you really understand that once again, he trusts the process. He
right,
doesn't question what he sees.
right,
He doesn't question what he's told. He's very accepting of it.
right. Well, and it's like when he gets there, in a way, it's like what he has envisioned. Did I read the
Right. I
quote
think so too.
that from his book that Sandra, because this is what the High Lama says to him. Sandra read your books, and this is the line that made us want to bring you here. There are moments in every man's life when he glimpses the eternal,
Right.
and they know that he is somebody who can help Shangri-La grow, and and that eventually will reach
Yep.
out into the world somehow.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I do think that's what their goal is, to be more than just this, you know,
right,
in the Himalayas.
sheltered, yeah,
And it's almost like they had come to this standstill of that,
mm-hmm,
and they weren't really expanding to the world.
uh-huh,
And they did need Robert to do that because he understood the world
yeah, because he's a diplomat.
because he's
Yeah,
a diplomat,
and the
right?
part of the thing that I didn't read was the High Lama explains they have preserved artwork, they have preserved
Right,
music, they have preserved plays,
right,
books, all these wonderful things that humans have created,
right.
but that might, because I don't know. It's like they have radar or something to the outside
Yeah,
world
it
because
feels that way.
they
Yeah,
know. Because
yeah,
it seems like the Dalai Lama, the High Lama knows, and Chang know that war is coming again,
yeah, yeah.
and that it's going to be bad, and they can kind of foresee the future of it's things aren't going to be really good for quite a while until
Right,
humanity gets so tired that the all the oligarchs, all the rich people, all the people seeking power devour each other, and
right,
then the meek are going to inherit the earth,
right, right.
is what the High Lama says. And then,
Yep,
and why, before George gets to Robert and says, I can't stand it here. You got to take me away. We got to leave. The High Lama dies. And the High Lama says,
yep.
I want
Well, I think
you.
he dies because he realizes, okay, I've told Robert everything I need
Yeah,
to tell him. I've
he'll
given
take
him,
over.
that it's time for you to do what I just can't do anymore because I'm old.
Right,
And then but also these little side things start to happen where you see uh Lovey and
right,
and Bernard, they become such a strong part of the community.
right,
And Love it, he starts to teach,
right.
and it brings him so much joy.
Yeah,
He gets all giddy and so excited. And Bernard is like an engineer, and he's like, I'm going to help create a plumbing system here.
yeah.
And he's got this design, and you can see the blueprints. And then, of course, Gloria's
Gloria.
healing,
Yeah.
and she's not wearing makeup. She dresses the way that, they dress there at the
Mm-hmm.
Shangri-La, and she's at peace, and she and Bernard become close.
Yeah.
And once again, George is the only one who just feels like everything is wrong, and he doesn't belong there, and they don't belong there, and he goes around trying to convince everyone it's time to go, it's time to go, it's time to go. They said there was no one that could get us out. Well, they lied, and they're here now, and they're going to get us out. And none of them want to go.
Right.
They're like,
Not, not even Robert, except for Maria does want to go because she's
yeah.
fallen in
And
love with George.
Maria says, we've been kidnapped. And I told you I was right. We've been kidnapped. And she has never wanted to be here. She can't wait to leave. And, Robert feels the pressure from his brother,
Right. But he
and at
also
least
had
even after he talked with the High Lama, he's just like, um, and he's in love,
with Sandra.
and he's in love with the place. I mean, this
Yeah.
is where he knows he
Hmm.
belongs, but I don't think he wants to abandon his brother.
Yeah, I mean that blood is thicker than water kind of thing is sort of
Yeah.
he wants to what I think his plan is because he already knows that if you stay there, you're going to have a really long life. And
Yeah.
he tries to convince George of that, but
Right.
George isn't having any
Well,
of
he
it.
even says to George, if we go, she will age.
Yes.
She's been here a long time. And George is like, what are you talking about? You believe all this nonsense?
Yeah,
He goes,
right.
I can't believe you've bought it. He's just so angry that his brother just is. And you see it so many times where Robert is just calm and George wants him to be agitated.
Right.
He tries to get him agitated.
Right.
And Robert's just not like that.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
and so he's like, okay, all right, I'll go with you.
But the caravan people are not honest. And
No.
they and when he goes, Chang says, "Don't worry, he'll be back," to Sandra because
Yeah, because
she's heartbroken.
Maria's really, really upset. I'm not Maria. What's her name?
Sandra.
Sandra. She goes to chase after him, and Chang's like very calm. No, he'll be back. It's okay.
Yeah.
And of course, she doesn't leave. She realizes her kind of boundary, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the first thing I notice when they're leaving with that caravan is they're not all on the same rope.
Right.
And Maria can't keep up. She's exhausted.
Right.
And they keep getting farther and farther away from their caravan.
Right.
And the caravan people start laughing at them. Ha 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 ha, we fooled you. We don't care what happens to you. And they have guns and they start to shoot the guns. This part is every time I watch this, I'm just like, what are they doing and why did they do that? It's so
And
ridiculous.
don't they know about
Yeah,
avalanches?
don't they know about avalanches? Which, of course, the avalanche happens and it kills all of the caravanners.
Right.
But Robert, George, and Maria are saved. Well, they run to try to get away from it. And don't they kind of go to some sort of cave or something?
Oh, they do. And
And
I
anyway,
think they do.
and they see it, and it's Robert who sees she's aged. She has aged. She's a
Yeah.
very old woman. And he tosses her over his shoulder and trying to get to someplace safe. Well, George freaks out.
Yeah.
He literally flips out when he sees that she's old and he jumps over the cliff.
Well, I think he's trying to run away and he just falls over the cliff. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure what he's doing. I don't know if it is like the reality of seeing her like that totally his
Yeah.
his whole psyche just absolutely flips out.
Right.
So, you know, that is hard on Robert because he's left alone.
Yeah. And then he does. Now, this is the interesting thing because I read the book and I can't remember how I got on the book. I bought them like they were $2.99 each
Oh
or
wow.
something
Yeah.
for the ebook. And the whole now this is the part of the story that follows the way the book is structured because we find out uh, well, we see Robert trudge on by himself. And then some of the next scenes are this guy who worked closely with Robert as a diplomat.
Yes.
He's at his club and he's telling people who've been reading, oh my gosh, Robert Conway's found Robert, because he's been
Yeah, because he
gone for,
does get found.
right.
He ends up in some village and he gets found,
And
and they
he's
think he's going to
ill.
come back.
Yeah. But he's has to
Very
heal
ill.
first.
Well, he
Well,
loses
this
his memory.
oh, that's
Remember?
right. I
He
forgot.
loses his memory, and they're trying to figure out heads or tails what has happened to him, but
Right.
he can't recall anything, which of course I think it's the trauma of the whole journey with his brother dying, trying to get safe for
Right.
himself. And then the next thing you know, oh, he's healed. And so this guy goes
He's
to, okay, he's going to bring him home and bring him back. Well,
Robert tells him the whole
yes,
story.
yes,
And that's how the book is structured. It's not, we don't ever really see Robert. We hear the narration
right.
of his story, of what happened to him. And that, and finally, after this, in this little scene, he says, I couldn't get him to come back. He was determined to go back to Shangri-La. Now, in the book, you never know if he gets back to Shangri-La or not. But in the movie, we get to see him get to the place where he sees the entrance
Yes.
to Shangri-La.
He treks along. He finds a way to get, like, does he jump on an airplane? He finds a way to get back to the Himalayas.
Right.
And yeah, he finds his entrance and that's where the movie ends. But like Jamie and I were talking about it because he watched it with me. Um Shangri-La also, it's all metaphorical for your state of mind and your state of being.
Right.
Your state
Right.
of whole being on um and I can understand why both stories were written. When eventually we'll talk about Random Harvest. But I understand why he wrote this story because those things that get talked about, eventually everyone will just destroy each other.
Yeah.
And then we will find our peace.
Right.
The meek will inherit the
The
earth and the
power
peace
hungry
will happen.
people, right. The
Right?
power hungry people, the greedy people,
Right.
they'll destroy themselves.
Right. And
And
and and,
and it
and
seems to me we're
I
there.
mean, it's really true though.
Yeah. It
Those
seems
are
to me.
not made up things. It's
No.
exactly what's happening now,
Right.
You
Exactly.
see how the greed and the warmongering and it just destroys you. And then you destroy others and It's just this eating you eating. It's just awful,
Right.
because there is no kindness. There is no unconditional love. There is no, I care about what happens to the people that I live on this planet with,
Right. Yeah.
and that's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable life.
No.
And it is really beautiful to me how they they are somehow connected to Robert and what's going on outside of their Shangri-La, to recognize that Robert is the man who's supposed to help with this expansion of this.
Right.
And and to
Yeah.
me, what I love about the story too is they don't see really Robert or even the High Lama as above anybody. It's just, once again, you see how all of them that ended up there, except for George, find peace with their roles that they
Right.
have to play.
Yeah.
And not just peace, but joy.
Yeah. Right.
They have real joy of that
Hmm.
sense of purpose and belonging and community.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just really touching that in this time period when this book was written, that these aren't new thoughts that we have.
Right.
This isn't something that just came, you know, up 10 years ago. It has been a way of thinking for centuries, for generations,
Right.
and
And it's just grown
yeah,
little
and
by
it's
little.
becoming this little bit of Shangri-La's, but you gotta, and what I see George as, George is the resistance to growth, to inner exploration.
To inner peace,
He doesn't
even.
want to explore to get to the place of peace.
Right.
He's afraid of what maybe that kind of dark place might take you because he doesn't want to know. And
Right.
it's so interesting. It just goes to show you, which is another great part of the story, is just because you come from the same family doesn't mean you have the same thoughts and the same
Exactly.
ideology or the way you want to live your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
George and Robert couldn't be more opposite of each other.
Right.
Um, and Ronald Coleman, he's one of my favorite actors.
I know. I like him too.
I I love that he just plays it so organically.
Excuse me.
That's okay. He plays this part extremely organically. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like it's who he really is.
Mm-hmm.
Just this very calm, well thought out, observing, not reactionary.
Right.
And that's even when George comes to him, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go, the caravan's here. He's just like, "Hmm," and he's looking around and, okay, I'll go. You know,
I
he doesn't
think
go,
he
oh,
said,
oh, oh, he just goes, okay, I'll go.
I think he says that because he knows that George could be a really detrimental influence
I think so
there.
too. I think he sees that if you don't have peace here, then you don't belong here.
Right.
Right. And in a big way, you see that he actually understands George more than George understands himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but in a really wonderful way, he he just loves George no matter what. And he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
care, he doesn't try to make George into something else.
Right.
He allows George to be George.
Right. And I think he's thinking, if I get George back to safety, then I can come back.
Right. I'm going to take George back to where he wants to live. I'll
Right.
find my way back here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the other thing that's hard for George too. Once again, all metaphorical with Maria aging, is I think it's almost in a place where George has to face a reality that he did not want to have to face.
Right.
He thought he could take this paradise with him and he could make it someplace else. But you
Mm-hmm.
can't when you're not at peace within and
Right.
you're not grounded and
Right.
you don't have your soul and your spirit and your whole being is it agitated like that. That wherever you go, there you are.
Well, I know. And we do see that Maria, I'm not sure it's this way in the book because it's been a while since I read the book, but Maria's discontent there too.
She is. I mean, she can't wait to get out. She can't think straight. She doesn't believe what she's been taught.
Yeah.
She
And
chooses
because she's
otherwise.
been there a long time.
Oh, yes, because she
And
gets very
she
old
says,
very
"Oh, I'm
quickly.
20. I'm 20."
Yeah,
Well, she was
right,
20 when she got there, but she's not
right,
20 now.
right. It's really, and I think that's another good point. She's lost track of time.
Hmm.
She doesn't understand time.
Right.
She just thinks it's been this minute, I guess. I don't know. But she too convinces George they've been kidnapped.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think Robert's like, okay, I'm gonna go help George get wherever he wants. I'll make my way back here, and it all happens kind of fast. Now, the one thing that I think is important to point out about this movie is a lot of people would view it as boring and slow. Um, but if you have the patience and you don't need something to be high action pack, you don't need to be high action packed at all, is just allow the story to unfold.
I thought it was interesting. I was reading a lot of the user comments about it or the user, the viewer reviews,
Yes,
and
yes.
almost all of them said, this is a really extraordinary movie that everybody needs to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, if you're going to have a classic film, you're not going to get action, you're not going to get high paced. It's just kind of
You're
not
not
the
going
way
to
it
have
works.
tons of
No,
explosions.
no. And this
Unless it's a
movie
war
is not,
movie.
that would be the opposite of what this movie is.
Right.
This movie is a glimpse into the beauty of what life can be,
Right. Where we could go.
where we could go. Right.
As
And how we
that's
could all
why,
just live
you
together in
know,
peace. And the
that's
other
why
thing
I
that I think
wanted
is
to
really great
show
is
it.
religion is never bought into it.
Oh no.
It's just a way of life.
Well, the I think the High Lama does say at the end of his speech that uh hopefully the actual Christian way of things where everybody loves everybody, that's where hopefully
That's what we're shooting
humanity's
for.
gonna
Well,
go.
and it's
But
understandable that that would be there for this time period when it was
yeah,
written.
but he's not, there lots of religions have love as the basis of their religion.
Yeah, they do.
So,
Love and unconditional love and peace and
and
harmony and
kindness.
community. Right.
Hmm.
Loving everybody as thyself. I
Hmm.
mean, lots of religions do. I mean, that's just the
Hmm.
reality of it.
Yeah,
But yes, but it's not heavy-handed.
right.
Um, what you get from it is just a real Shangri-La feeling.
Well, and one of the things I love about is when they first get there and they start talking to Chang, there are certain things that he doesn't tell them. Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry, I'm not the one to tell you
Yeah,
that.
it's not really my place. That's not my
Yes,
role.
but
Right.
in doing that, he is hoping and kind of encouraging them to find out what Shangri-La is for themselves.
Yes. And it's a whole feeling.
Hmm.
It's not a feeling of separation at all.
Right.
And completely caring for each other
Hmm.
and the animals, and because there's that
Hmm.
scene, where they're with the pigeons, and she finds out that she knew about Robert because of the pigeons and
Oh, right.
they're homing pigeons.
Oh, that's it.
And
Yeah, I forgot about
and
that.
it's so cute how the scene is the pigeons are just all over them, and they don't make a big deal out of it. It's a really lovely community.
Mhm.
And it is really, I mean, I can see why they connected to Robert because it's really what he was writing about in his
Mhm.
books.
Yeah.
And they
This,
knew he belonged there.
yeah. The scene of maybe this is what makes George like, I gotta get out of here, is the scene when they have the funeral for the High Lama.
Oh, yes. Oh, that is a good scene. Oh, yes.
I just remembered that scene.
Oh, yes.
And
Mm.
because everybody honors him. And a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably there are still a lot of people who were there when he first came.
Oh,
And
that he became the community with right away. You're probably right.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
kind of get the feeling that maybe Chang was one of those two
Mm-hmm,
that was
mm-hmm.
there once, that they all got there together
In the
in
beginning,
the
yeah.
beginning. Yeah, I think yeah, something about that kind of celebration of his life. And it's an energy thing. And I always tell
Mm-hmm.
people, they're like, I don't know how it's going to happen, that, maybe I need to end this relationship, and I said, sometimes you don't need to end anything. Just keep being you, and what's organically supposed to be with you will be there.
Right.
And George didn't organically belong there.
No.
And all of that higher, I don't know if I like the word higher, but all of that loving community really grated on his nerves.
Right.
He just could not stand it.
Because I think the role that Robert had of being a diplomat, flying all over the world, trying to put out fires or whatever it was he did, George really fed on that.
I think so
And
too. Ego. It
and
was the ego driven thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he got to tag along with his brother, but he could never have done that himself.
Could have never have done it, but he wanted to be identified with it.
How I'm going to bask in reflected glory. You know, people are going to point to me and say, there goes George Conway, brother of the Foreign Secretary.
Don't talk nonsense. Give me the bottle.
Right.
And when they got to Shangri-La, his brother, they were moving away from each other
Mm-hmm.
organically, not
Mm-hmm.
by the force of anything. It's just Robert found more of his peace, more of who he wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be with, who he wanted to be. And George never knew who George was.
Right.
George just was always at his brother's side
Right.
and didn't know how to search for himself.
Right.
It
Or
made him
maybe he didn't even
so
want,
uncomfortable.
maybe he didn't want to.
Yeah, I think some people just don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feels like. I've never been like
I
that.
know. Yeah, really.
I remember when I first met Jamie's parents, almost 26 years ago. Um, I had they were in the house and they were looking at all these books, and his dad goes, "Well, what do you read for fun?" Because I have all my self-help, my deeply spiritual books, my Wayne Dyer, my Deepak Chopra, my Marianne
Mm-hmm.
Williamson, and all the like. And I went, "Well, I read that." And he goes,
Yeah.
"Oh." And he goes, "Okay." I said, "I have some stuff I like to read that's not that, but for me, I want to know myself more. I want to be the peace,
Mm-hmm.
you know?" Um, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Robert was
Yeah.
all he was so I think Dad would have been like that in those situations.
Yeah.
You know, I can't think of many times that Dad was reactionary.
No.
He was
Yeah.
just he was a great observer of things, and very much firsthand when Dad was pastor and the people were threatened by him within the congregation, and they were horrid to he and Mom and wrote
Mm-hmm.
nasty letters and tried to get him removed. And they would come to him and let him know that he was not accepted. And you know maybe just because he internalized it, but he was like, okay, well, but this is the way it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know,
Oh, it was real controversy when two things. He was the youth pastor for the whole district and or whatever they didn't call it that. But anyway, the youth leader for the whole district. And we would go out to Medical Lake to the mental health and
oh yeah.
socialize. They would have social nights or
Ooh.
something, and we would go out there. Oh, that was really controversial. Then when they had the coffee house in the basement of the
Oh,
church.
oh, Mom talked about the coffee house and how people were
But
enraged.
the reason Dad did it is he wanted to keep the kids, close.
Well,
He didn't.
like Mom said, Dad, they would come to him and go, first of all, they were mad because they didn't have short hair. Then they were mad because they were wearing jeans. The teenagers were
Right.
wearing jeans. And then he had the coffee house. How dare they do that in the basement of the church? And he goes, are they out there causing trouble?
Yeah.
Or are they here in this community
Right.
and doing things that bring them joy? And of course, Dad was never trying to give a zinger.
Right.
He just was very matter of fact and pointed out how important it was to include no matter what.
Right.
And that's Robert in this story.
Yes, it
Robert
is.
and Shangri-La, and very inclusive. Let's just include. Let's keep including no matter what.
Right.
Because that's where you find yourself
Yeah.
is in unconditional love and inclusion.
Yeah.
And it's a really amazing story considering the pressure that the world was under,
Yes.
observing what was
Yeah.
happening
Yeah.
in Europe.
And I think that the whole idea of like the Lhasa, which now is in Chinese hands, but the Buddhists having these places where they hold the space for peace.
Right,
There are
right,
probably other kinds of communities like that. They hold
right.
the place for peace. And,
Yes.
the other day I was flipping through YouTube and I saw this thing about Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching. And what it was the Tao Te Ching has this verse about let things fall apart.
Yes. Yes.
Don't try to stop it from falling apart because
Yeah.
when everything falls apart, then you can build something new.
Yeah.
And
It's when
that's
everything starts to come together.
and
Right.
that's kind of what the High Lama is explaining to
Right.
Robert
It
is
is. It is.
eventually the old ways of greed and power and prestige and blah 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 all that stuff and gathering so much money that you can't ever use it all
Oh, yeah. Right.
uh, it is going to fall apart, and then the meek, quote unquote, of the earth are going to rebuild, are going to
Right.
rebuild
Right.
something new.
It rebuilds. And one of my favorite quotes from Kung Fu Panda 3, uh, you know, Sifu says, when you try to take everything, you end up with nothing.
Right.
And that's really what
Mm-hmm.
the point of Shangri-La is.
Right.
We know once everybody, all these greedy people and all these people that create war and want to create war and want to hurt people, when you try to take it, it doesn't work out. You end up
Yeah.
with nothing.
Right.
And it is true. That is what I love about the Buddhists is, just let the chaos happen. Let these
Right.
things, because it all eventually caves in on itself.
Right.
It is not something that is sustainable.
Right.
And just trust that process.
Yeah.
And that is Shangri-La, the High Lama, all the people that live in Shangri-La, Robert. That's why he's attracted to the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it is magical. It's what's how did they get his books? How did they
Yeah.
know about him?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's supposed to be answered
Mm-mm.
because that's not really the point.
No. No, it's
It's
not
not
the
the
point.
point of the story. The point of the story is the whole peace amongst us all.
Yes. And
And
there have been
how,
people through the generations, through the millennia, who have embodied that, who've embodied that
oh yes,
Shangri-La kind of idea, being
right,
kind, being loving. And and then it's grown a little by
yeah,
little by little by
yeah,
little by little. And now we're getting to a
right.
place where a lot of people are saying, I don't care if you're MAGA or whatever. If you need food, I'm giving you food.
It's not
If
a political party thing. It's
no,
not a
right.
lifestyle thing. It's not
No.
anything. It's the biggest thing it is love.
Yeah.
I care about you. I care about your well-being. I care
Yeah.
about what happens to you. I
Yeah.
care that your family is safe and that you all have something to eat and you have a way to earn a living that's sustainable.
Right.
We are coming to that. And oh boy, it has been hard lessons.
Right.
We got it. It's like you got to hit that rock bottom. And then people wake up and go,
Yeah.
oh, that. And it's not, and the thing that's so interesting to you and I have talked about this all the time is I wonder why people, Harry Potter's all about it. So many stories are all about you think love and empathy and compassion makes you weak. That's so weird.
I know.
You
It
know,
is weird.
it's just, I don't understand why you think that makes you a weak person.
Right.
This toxic masculinity or toxic, it's just toxic to not care about your fellow people.
Well, and men aren't the only ones that are toxic. Women
No,
can be
it's just
toxic too.
toxic, period.
Yeah.
That toxic way of thinking that we're not a community.
Right.
And it takes a village, if you want to say it that way. You
Yeah.
know, I remember when she wrote that book, people mocked her and thought she was foolish and it was like, oh, how sad that you, and I remember even dad was like, how do people not understand that?
Yeah.
you
Really?
know, I
Yeah.
don't understand how you don't understand that we all have to be a community and care about each other.
Right. Yeah.
And we're perplexed by it because we were raised.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've said to people a few times, well, I don't think my parents were perfect, but I think they were darn close. I mean, they were so advanced,
Yeah. They
our
were.
parents. And, taking care of mom the last 10 years, uh, she wasn't perfect and she never claimed to be perfect. And I love that she never claimed to be perfect. But, it was always so fun. And I maybe got little reflections of part of myself. Everywhere I took mom, she made friends with everybody.
Grandma was the same way. Mom's
She
mom
just
was the same way.
she just she would bring you in and just talk to you and
Mm-hmm.
and felt like you just could tell her everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she was open. And I remember where I probably was maybe I think I was told a few times in high school and then in my 20s, you're way too trusting and you're just way too open. And why do you trust everybody? And I said, I don't have any reason to not trust them.
Right.
My philosophy always was, well, if they hurt me, then they hurt themselves too.
Yeah.
And I have to choose to be hurt. I look at if they hurt me, it's maybe because they're hurting. And people
Right.
always were like, you are so weird. But that's what we were taught.
Exactly. That is what we were taught.
We were taught that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what this movie really is about is what do you choose to bring into your space?
Right.
What do you choose to offer to the space that you enter?
Right.
And it has to be the type of pacing that it is because lessons aren't always fast anyway, right?
No, they are not. No.
They're not always fast. And I think the cast is great. I
The
appreciate every
story's great.
single because they did a good job choosing George because he does a really good job showing his angst and that he's
Yes.
never been at peace. And without saying exactly what you said, you absolutely understand his identity is wrapped up in his brother's actions. It's a
Yes.
very emotionally mature film and story
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because when he sees Maria grow old, oh, it
It
literally sends him over the deep end.
That's right. It does. He's trying to get away from her. That's why he falls
Yeah,
over the cliff.
because he's afraid for himself. He
Right.
doesn't see it as a lesson. He sees it as, oh, something's going to happen to me.
Yes.
Ah, because I think that's the way he always thinks. Something's going to happen. What's going to happen next? I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
Something's always wrong. Something's always wrong.
Right.
And that is so metaphorical of a lot of people through millennia.
Yeah.
People just have that something in them where they just think something's never right. And you know, honestly, they show Robert, he's devastated that his brother has jumped over the cliff,
Yeah.
but he moves on quickly.
Well, there's
He
nothing he can do
understands
about it.
there's
And he's
nothing he can do about it. He can't make him come back. So
right,
he knows he's got to find a way to survive.
right. And maybe he tries right then to go back to Shangri-La, but he gets found somehow.
Well, he gets all sorts of lost, right? But once again, it's those magical things,
Right.
mysterious. How do these people find him?
I know.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And how does he find Shangri-La
And
again?
how does he find Shangri-La again? Right. Because
Yeah.
I don't think you need to know in the book because they've told you two or three different times he belongs there. So you
Yeah.
don't need to know that he has found the entrance to Shangri-La
Yeah.
because it's very obvious that's where he belongs.
Right. Now, let's segue into the movie that we're going to watch next, which is absolutely the opposite of this. And it's Keeper of the Flame.
Contrast.
Yes, which is, I mean, again, I watched it short. I watched Keeper of the Flame shortly after I'd seen uh, Lost Horizon, and I went, oh my gosh, both of these movies show something that's going on right now.
Oh, so relevant. I totally
Keeper of the Flame, when she's showing, at one point when she's showing the book of the plans,
Yeah,
uh,
don't say much because we got to talk about it later, but
uh to
yeah.
to Spencer Tracy, I'm like, oh my God, that's going on right now.
And there's always these people they just know.
Yeah.
These movies
So
we just presented that said they're on this list because they just knew.
yeah. And I think it's really interesting that Rachel Maddow included that list because there were certain elements of the government that wanted to suppress it because they
Okay.
wanted to keep the United States out of World War II.
Right, right.
And it was because they were part of the Nazi Party
Because
in
they
the
were part of the
United
Nazi
States.
Party. I mean, but we need, this is why they don't want us to have history because we have to have history because,
Right.
oh my gosh, it so
So,
matters.
so your way and my way of sharing this history is to show these films that show the evolution
Yes,
of
yes.
humanity, of
Well, and here we got the
culture.
contrast. We've got the contrast of Shangri-La, Lost
Right.
Horizon, and now we're going to talk about Keeper of the Flame.
And then
And
we'll talk about The Razor's Edge, which is sort of a
right,
sandwich.
there is a sandwich in it, right?
Mhm.
But how advanced thinking and spirituality can be,
Right.
no matter what era we're in.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I'm excited for next time.
Oh
And
my gosh, I'm
we
always
forgot to
excited.
say goodbye to our listeners last time. So we
Oh,
want you to
goodbye, listeners.
goodbye and subscribe to our channel. It's free, and make comments and go watch the movies that we mentioned because all the movies we mentioned are great. And go watch this one too because it is an extraordinary film.
It
An
is. It's
extraordinary film.
very, very advanced thinking
Yeah.
and
And
advanced way of living.
you can also go join us on Facebook. We have about 45 people now in our Facebook
Yeah,
group.
it's fun. I feel like almost every week we're, welcoming someone new.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So bye until next time.
Bye.